In the still waters of Xochimilco, south of Mexico City, the canals stretch like green veins through a land built on centuries of memory. These canals, once part of the Aztec agricultural system of floating gardens called Chinampas, still carry echoes of a vanished empire. Among them lies a small, overgrown island that would one day capture the attention of the world. Locals know it as La Isla de las Muñecas, the island of the dolls. But its story does not begin with the dolls. It begins with a man who chose to live alone, far from the noise of the modern city that surrounded him. His name was Don Julián Santana Barrera. Born in the early 1920s, Julián grew up in the same Xochimilco region, where families worked the fertile soil and fished the canals. He was described as quiet, deeply religious, and somewhat eccentric. In the 1950s, for reasons that have never been fully explained, Julián left his wife and children and moved alone to a small chinampa on Texuelo Lake. Some say he wanted peace. Others thought he was seeking penance or retreat from personal troubles. Whatever the reason, he built himself a simple hut and began tending crops in near-total isolation. Life on a chinampa was demanding: humid air, mosquitoes, and the slow decay of everything left in the open. Yet Julián seemed content, fishing, planting, and trading produce with nearby villagers. It was during this quiet existence that something happened, something he spoke of for the rest of his life. One day, while working near the canal, he discovered the body of a young girl, drowned in the murky water near his island. No official record of the girl was ever found, and no name was ever given to her. But to Julián, the discovery was real and devastating. He told neighbors that he had tried to save her, but arrived too late. From that moment, he said, he could not stop thinking about her. Soon after, he found a doll floating in the same canal, tangled in water plants. Believing it might have belonged to the girl, he hung the doll from a tree branch near where he had found her body. It was, in his eyes, a gesture of respect, a memorial for an innocent life lost too young. But over time, that single doll became the beginning of something much larger. Julián started finding more dolls, broken, discarded, or half-buried in the muddy canals. Whenever he saw one, he retrieved it and brought it to the island. He hung each doll carefully, as though placing a protective watch over the land. Visitors from nearby villages began to notice the strange decorations appearing among the trees. They asked Julián why he was doing it, and he always gave the same simple answer: it is for the spirit of the little girl. Some people pitied him, others thought he had gone mad from loneliness. But Julián continued, year after year, collecting dolls from wherever he could find them. He salvaged them from trash piles, exchanged vegetables for old toys, and picked up anything that washed into the canals. The dolls came in every form: plastic, porcelain, cloth, often damaged, missing limbs or eyes. He did not repair them. He hung them as they were, worn and weathered, allowing time and the elements to finish the work. Slowly, the island transformed. The trees filled with thousands of small, still figures, dolls hanging by their necks, nailed to trunks, or sitting on wooden posts. Their faded faces became part of the landscape, half hidden in vines and moss. To outsiders, it looked disturbing, even grotesque. To Julián, it was devotion, a way of giving peace to the memory that had haunted him. He lived like this for nearly 50 years. Sometimes local fishermen would bring tourists to see the island's caretaker and his collection. Julián welcomed them politely, but rarely left his chinampa. He showed visitors the dolls and told the same story about the girl he could not save. Some tourists gave him new dolls to add to the island, helping his collection grow even larger. By the 1990s, La Isla de las Muñecas had become a local legend. Journalists and photographers began to arrive, fascinated by the sight of a man surrounded by decaying toys. The images they took, of hundreds of dolls hanging lifelessly in the trees, spread around the world. But for Julián, fame meant little. He continued living as he always had, cultivating vegetables, caring for the island, and tending to the dolls. He often said he felt a deep spiritual connection to the island and the canals. In his later years, his health began to decline, but he never left. On April 17, 2001, his nephew, Anastasio Santana, came to visit him. They spent the morning together, talking and fishing near the same canal where Julián had always said he found the drowned girl. A few hours later, Anastasio returned to the spot and found his uncle's body floating face down in the water. He had drowned, at nearly 80 years old. According to the family, Julián had no visible injuries, and his death was ruled an accidental drowning, possibly caused by a heart attack or exhaustion. The tragedy shocked those who knew him, but many locals were struck by the eerie symmetry. Julián had died in the same canal where he once said the girl had perished. After his death, his family decided to preserve the island exactly as he left it. Today, visitors can still reach it by Trajinera, a flat, colorful boat that glides through the ancient waterways of Xochimilco. The approach is peaceful, birds calling, reeds swaying, until the first hanging dolls appear through the trees. They remain as Julián placed them, cracked, dirty, missing eyes, staring out from the branches. The small wooden hut where he lived still stands, filled with more dolls, tools, and old photographs. A simple wooden cross marks the spot where his body was found. Tour guides retell his story, sometimes adding superstition, but the truth requires no exaggeration. It is already haunting enough. It is the story of a man who lived alone for half a century, consumed by a memory he could not forget. A man who turned his grief into ritual and his solitude into an art of remembrance. Whether or not there was truly a drowned girl, Julián believed there was, and that belief shaped the rest of his life. The dolls, though lifeless, became his companions, his prayers, and his way of communicating with the unseen. They were the witnesses to his final decades, silent, decaying, but constant. When the world discovered them, people saw horror. Julián had seen peace. Today, the island stands much as it did in his final years, though the dolls are older now, their plastic melting and wood splintering in the sun. The air smells of wet earth and old vegetation, and the sound of the water laps quietly against the banks. Tourists visit daily, taking photographs, whispering as if in a sacred place. Many say they feel a strange heaviness there, not of fear, but of sorrow. They leave small dolls as offerings, continuing Julián's tradition, perhaps without fully understanding it. Local residents respect the island deeply. They speak of Julián not as a madman, but as a man who followed his conviction beyond what others could comprehend. His life remains one of Mexico's most unusual and poignant tales. Every doll hanging from a tree represents a piece of his long vigil, a lifetime of devotion to something he could never explain. The dolls have outlived him, and they continue to sway in the wind, each one aging a little more with every season. The island, now recognized as part of the broader Xochimilco Ecological Reserve, draws people from all over the world. Some come seeking ghosts, others come seeking art or truth. What they all find is a reminder of how far one person's faith or guilt can go. Julián never sought recognition, never wrote a book, never gave long interviews. He simply stayed, believing he had a duty to protect a spirit that only he could sense. Whether he was haunted or simply compassionate will never be known. But his actions, real, documented, and enduring, remain visible for anyone willing to look. The Island of the Dolls is not a fantasy. It is the physical record of a man's life, his loneliness, and his unwavering purpose. The dolls, though broken and weathered, are not symbols of horror. They are relics of remembrance, hanging between the living and the lost. When you step onto that soil and see them watching from every branch, you are standing inside one man's lifetime of devotion. There is no trick, no illusion, only the quiet persistence of memory. Don Julián Santana Barrera died as he lived, alone, surrounded by his guardians. And in his death, the island stopped changing, frozen in the moment he left it behind. The dolls remain, hundreds of them, still keeping their silent vigil over the calm waters. Their eyes are faded, their clothes torn, but they have become part of the landscape, as natural as the trees themselves. Tourists will continue to come, boats will continue to glide past, and the legend will continue to grow, but the truth remains simple. One man found a doll in a canal. He believed it was the toy of a lost child. And for 50 years, he covered an island with them, turning grief into a strange, enduring monument of love. That is the real story of La Isla de las Muñecas. No ghosts, no fiction, just a man, an island, and the dolls that will never stop watching.